Welcome to this video on deglobalization. Globalization means that world trade in goods is growing faster than the world's GDP. This was the case from the beginning of the 50s until 2008. But since then, global trade was still growing, but more slowly than GDP. This decline in the global trade to GDP ratio is what is meant by deglobalization. One of the main reasons for deglobalization is China. This is because foreign trade relative to GDP has fallen, particularly in China, for two reasons. Firstly, the Chinese are demanding more services. As a result, the Chinese have fewer resources for the production of industrial goods and therefore also for the exports of these goods. Secondly, China is importing fewer and fewer intermediate and capital goods and replacing them with domestic production. This also leaves fewer resources for the production of exports goods. All in all, the global trade to GDP ratio has not fallen since 2008 if China is excluded. Deglobalization is thus strongly linked to China. Another aspect of deglobalization is the shifting of trade corridors. Because the Americans imposed high tariffs on goods from China starting with Trump, the United States have imported 20% less from China in price-adjusted terms since 2019. As the USA have not imposed sharply higher tariffs on other countries, it has imported significantly more from those countries. It is also striking that Europeans have exported 13% fewer goods to China since 2019, adjusted for prices. Firstly, China has developed further and needs fewer foreign capital goods. Secondly, many European countries have relocated production to China, also to avoid the threat of trade restrictions in the future. Dependence on China has increased due to the fact that many countries are using more intermediate products from China in their production. This also applies to Germany. Only the United States have become less dependent on China. However, there are some indications that the rising political tensions between the West and China will prompt other countries to follow the example of the United States and become less dependent on China in the future.